Dear honorable guests, members of the justice community, and all protocols observed, we are pleased to start today's webinar on responsible AI in judicial practice. Today's webinar focuses on how AI can operate responsibly within clearly defined legal, ethical, and procedural boundaries while preserving due process, judicial independence, and the integrity of legal proceedings. It is now my pleasure to welcome our speakers who have been leading the digitalization of the justice sector across many countries. We have Mr. Khachatur Matevosyan, who is the Vice President for eJustice at Synergy, overseeing our advancements across multiple countries, managing programs both on the ground and from our headquarters, and of course leading our AI lab. We are also joined by Mrs. Niceson Karungi, eJustice expert at Synergy and head of our Rwanda office. With strong experience in the public sector and more than a decade of supporting the digitalization of justice systems across Africa and beyond, she has been contributing to our advancements in the innovative eJustice solutions. Let's start with the first question. Before we move to practical AI capabilities in the justice sector, it's important to take one step back. My first question would be addressed to Khachatur. Khachatur, what should judiciaries consider when moving to deployment of AI in courts?
Thank you, Sergey. Actually, when we look at AI from the technical perspective, the possibilities are really unlimited. However, it's always important to consider the possible regulations and the legislative aspects of things. During the last several years, while we started developing AI solutions, and some of them we showcased during our previous webinar, we've been thoroughly following the changes in legislations and also how countries nowadays adopt different AI policies. And the analysis shows that they differ. Each country has its own legislation and the specific requirements to AIs. However, there are key things around which will be also based the demonstration today. And the key aspects for AIs are transparency, traceability, accountability, and human oversights. So wherever judiciaries try to adopt AI, they should always consider that those four are really key to be considered for any future and any approach that they will adopt in future. Sergey?
Thank you very much, Khachatur. Let's now move forward. So my next question would be addressed to Niceson. Within a case management system, judicial officers often work with cases that contain a significant amount of important information. That's already known. Text in different forms, scanned and digital documents, and of course evidence in the form of photos, videos, and so on. Niceson, how big of a challenge it is to review all these digital sources altogether?
Thank you, Sergey. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, distinguished guests. Thank you so much for joining us. This issue is a challenge, mostly because of the fragmentation of the information in the case files. You find that judges and registrars do not have a mechanism of looking at case information holistically. They still have parts of information, submissions, evidences, exhibits as attachments. They also have other parts of information, such as session information, cause list, etc., as forms of field information in the case. So for a judge to be able to search, first of all, and then review all these case documents, formulate their own decisions is a challenge. And all the while, they're expected to have the utmost accuracy. They're supposed to follow a certain timeline, and they're supposed to exhibit fairness in their decisions. So you find that going through all these fragmented documents becomes tiresome, it's time consuming, and sometimes it can cause errors or oversight in decision making. Sergey.
Thank you very much, Niceson. I think the situation is clear in terms of the practical problems. My next question would be to Khachatur. Khachatur, so if we all have these fragmented documents, files, metadata, forms, recordings, media files, and so on, what specific facilitations can AI provide in case information review while maintaining confidentiality of those case documents?
Thank you, Sergey. I will share my screen and try to explain and showcase how actually AI can be helpful. in this sense. Now, when we talk about a digital case or electronic case, now here I'm logged in as a registrar of a court who has a new post-it state to the court. When we talk about digital case, so part of the information is always available in terms of so-called structured data. So it's actually whatever is filled in different fields, like what is the court, the subject matter, ground of claim, and we can have information on the parties, and of course, one or multiple documents which come with it. So this is what formulates a digital case. Now, when we talk about how AI can help, for a registrar to try to understand, or the front desk clerk, what is the case about, they can go through each of the forms and through each field, or AI can facilitate this process. Now, during the last webinar, we were showing how actually AI can analyze specific document inside the case itself, or can answer questions regarding an uploaded file. But what we have recently done, we integrated our case management system with all our AI agents. And the result is, if we ask a question, for example, please make summary of the case including the content of the uploaded documents. So on this one, AI will actually treat the case as a whole, the metadata and the uploaded documents content all together. And it will take way few time than it would take a human to actually pass through all the fields and through the content of all the documents to come up to a result. And in this case, the permissions that AI actually uses to provide the answers are same as the user have, which means that if the user is asking actually a question, it is checking the permission user has on the fields and based on them providing the answer. Now, if we take an overall glance, this is what looks like when AI does. So it gathers the information from the actual case. This part comes from the metadata, but it also checks all the documents and makes a summary based on the content of the uploaded documents. And in some cases, those can be just some PDF files, but in other cases, this can be also the audio and video recordings, which it can transcribe, as we showed during our last webinar, and provide the answers. One of the feedbacks that we got during the last webinars was a possibility that can AI actually make the files as a link. So if the user asking a question wants to verify, they can click. So this is also something that we reached. And this is a concept which facilitates the transparency. So any answer coming can be easily verified if it's correct or not, or if it's based on a specific document or not. Sergey?
Thank you, Khachatur. We can see that the system is able to provide that comprehensive overview, but how can we actually trust that whatever was generated was done correctly? How can we be confident that whatever is presented has the required level of accuracy?
Thank you, Sergey. And here was the answer. And what we actually implemented, and this answers a lot of questions, is the tracing functionality. Actually, for the users to have unpack the black box that AI had, so here when you click, it actually can show step by step what had actually happened. Which AI agent actually was working, which were the exact documents that it was tracking, what was the information that it was getting, and how then it formulated everything. So technically, this is becoming a must to comply to the different legislations and mostly on the traceability, giving possibility to users in electronic system to actually trace the step-by-step what AI has done can solve it. Sergey?
Thank you very much, Khachatur. Let's move forward. Let's have the next question to Niceson. So Niceson, how do courts currently verify procedural compliance, and what happens when the information they need is sometimes available or maybe locked inside different documents rather than captured in structural fields?
Thank you, Sergey. Over the years, Synergy has partnered with different countries and justice institutions in different countries in supporting the digitization journey. And what you mentioned is really a big challenge that we have identified, is that all courts have a long list of legal checklists that they should check that each case has passed, including even the jurisdiction of courts. And number two, you find that this checklist is not always in one legal format. It's mostly spread around different procedures and laws. So the court, depending on jurisdiction, some jurisdictions use registrars, others judges, to check the compliance of the case, to make sure that the case is compliant with the list of legislations and checklists to be admissible in the court. And this takes a lot of time, sometimes hours, just checking one case, because they need to consider all the evidence, they need to consider all the documents provided, and they need to verify that with another long list of procedure laws to make sure that it can be admissible in that court. And this process is very important because it ensures legality, due process, and fairness in decision making. So it is very important for the courts. The only challenge is that it is very tiresome and very time consuming for the judges and the registrars, whose time is so valuable and should actually be spent on making substantial judicial decisions.
Thank you, Niceson. So the need and the importance is indeed there. Khachatur, how exactly can AI resolve this challenge regarding the compliance? Is it even realistic that it can facilitate compliance checks in a very meaningful and controllable way?
Thank you, Sergey, for the question. During our last webinar, we were showing how AI can answer the questions from the court rules or different procedural documents. That actually was solving part of the question, and so that the litigants or the lawyers who were filing the case or the front desk clerks who had to verify the compliance, they could know what are the rules. If not opening the rule books or the PDF files, they could just have the answers from AI. Now the next step comes that users can actually ask AI question to do that. So for that, as I said, it's really important to have AI integrated with the data and of the electronic case, and with the to be able to read the content of the documents. Now, if we ask another question to our AI assistant, for it to assess the compliance for admissibility. Now what it will be doing, it will be checking in which court is the case, what is the category for the case, and based on the instance level, and based on it, going through the different rules that are given for the demo purposes, it will assess all that information versus the actual content of the case file. So with this, it can answer the question if the case is eligible for admissibility or not, or if there are any issues. Here, if we check, so it's step-by-step made the verification. So basically, when we talk about electronic systems, and this appeared in many countries where we did projects for digitalization, the very first thing that comes whenever a case is being submitted is being checked if the information on the claimants and defendants has been filled. Then, if the full information on the claimant has been provided or not. So instead of the user actually to go one by one through every of those ones, AI can make all of it. And be it something on the metadata or be it an information which should be in the uploaded documents, it can actually check and in the end provide recommendations. Even if there are any admissibility criteria regarding, for example, the amount of the claim that has been submitted that is in the signed PDF documents or any other, it can pass and analyze all of them. And in the end, provide a summary, what is done, what is not. Of course, the decision in the end to accept the case or dismiss it or ask the litigant to review always remains with the court. However, what AI does here is it makes a very quick analysis on the admissibility. And for this, as I said, it's really important to have it structured in a way that it has access to the court rules, so understand the court rules, and it has specifically access to the case itself, so it can read the information and based on it provide the answers. Sergey?
Thank you, Khachatur. Let's move to another very important topic, which is the case of duplicated cases. And my question would be addressed to Niceson. Niceson, so to obtain more expedited or favorable decision, parties sometimes may submit the same case or slightly altered case to multiple courts and registries within the country. How this challenge presents itself in real life, in practice?
Thank you, Sergey. That is actually a very apparent challenge because, let's admit it, litigants always find a way to exploit the court processes however and whichever way they can, whenever they see a loophole. So, fraudulently, for them to be able to obtain either an expedited judgment or a more favorable judgment, they tend to submit one case in one court, and then a similar case in parallel to another court or another registry. Sometimes, since they know that judges and registrars might identify these duplications, they can alter some parts of information without changing the substance of the case, and they file it to multiple jurisdictions. So you can imagine if a judiciary is entirely relying on the judges or registrar's capability to read all the cases and identify the duplication, it is so hectic and practically close to impossible to identify duplicates in the whole country. So sometimes these litigants might actually get away with it, and this could lead to the issue of conflicting decisions, because one judge in one court can take a different decision from the other one on the same case in substance. And this will create, again, issues in execution, because now you have two different decisions that are conflicting each other. Which one are they going to implement? And so ultimately, this causes issues in judicial efficiency and malpractices within the justice sector systems.
Thank you, Niceson. Thank you. This indeed, it feels like something very serious. And also, it seems like another area where AI can add significant value. Khachatur, how do you think that this problem can be addressed using AI, while judicial officers, they can retain their full authority over procedural decisions? What do you think?
Thank you, Sergey. As Niceson correctly noted, the question of multiply filing several times the same case to the courts has become even easier when countries decided to pass to electronic systems. Because what people do, they try to create different profiles, different users use different emails, sometimes change their made a typo in their first name or last name, hire a new lawyer, didn't tell the new one that they have already got, let's say, rejected the case, or they didn't like the decision. And specifically, after we did our first webinar, there were several questions on and several requests to implement like functionalities. That's why we decided to showcase it today. So now if we open the same case, we can ask the question if there are any duplicates or not. And the concept of identifying the duplicates works in following way. There are a lot of fields which can have similarities or not. And what we do, and this is again for the accountability and traceability, is we also develop so-called skills for AI so that it understands that it shouldn't compare the date, for example, or the category can be same. It doesn't mean they are identical. The identicality should come from the subject's ground of claim, the content of the evidences that they have uploaded, and similarities about the parties. So here, the output is clear that it has identified we created this case for demo purposes. It has identified one case which has in another court, because here we are in the beta court, this is in alpha. And here when we check the names, so the person wrote his surname in another case as his first name and his first name as his last name there. Technically, this becomes another party, because also they can type with one typo or with another type of letter in their ID number and so on. But what is really important that AI facilitates that it actually checks all the content of the supporting evidences, affidavits, and submissions, and makes also the analysis based on it. Because even if they type another party, but they refer it in the documents with their real names, it will also identify. So this way, AI can help also to remove the duplicates. And with the same way, the skills are developed to find legal precedents or similar cases or alike decisions. But the concept is that when AI has access and can actually access not only the metadata, also the content of the attachment, so it can easily provide the information. Sergey?
This is indeed something very impressive. Let's touch upon another subject. So it has been raised repeatedly across different conferences, interactions, even published articles, that lawyers provide draft judgments and they cite precedents that do not exist. And in fact, some courts have even sanctioned lawyers over different hallucinated references. And there is this issue of AI being used to draft orders, let's say citing fabricated or incorrect precedents, which is a topic that has come up frequently over the past year. Niceson, how serious and how frequent is this situation in practice?
Thank you, Sergey. It is actually very serious and very common. And I think due to the different repercussions that lawyers have faced, some of them are even currently shying away from using AI. Over the past 2 years alone, courts have identified such kind of fraudulent use of AI. And they have identified that although these references appear to be authoritative, they are actually inaccurate. And courts have quoted over time that the cited fabricated cited references, non-existent precedents, or even inaccurate quotations. Just last year in San Diego, lawyers were sanctioned for $69,000. And out of those, they were sanctioned for $15,000 in disciplinary sanctions. And when we look a bit before that, in the case of Lexus versus Overstock, the lawyers were collectively sanctioned for $12,000 in the city of Kansas. So this is really a big challenge that judicial practitioners actually don't know how to handle, because yes, they are trying to use AI. They trust AI, but some do not have the time, or due to oversight, they don't really revise the precedents that AI gives them. And this leads to not only that they are sanctioned, but also their reputation is compromised, because some of them go through disciplinary matters. And because of that, now they are even facing issues of revoking their licenses. So this is really, really a great challenge. Now, beyond that, what I consider to even be a worse challenge is that such kind of hallucinations could lead to misleading courts into rendering judgments that are also hallucinated. And this is a challenge because judicial decisions are not just any other decisions. These are decisions that affect people's constitutional rights and liberties. These are decisions that affect how people relate in their families and how they own or dispose of their properties. So they affect people's lives. And this is why using AI in courts is a challenge. And we need to look at responsible AI as not just an additional AI functionality to courts, but as something that can be reliable, explainable, and can be accountable.
Thank you very much, Niceson. You have explained that the situation is very serious, and maybe, Khachatur, I think it's possible, is it even possible to provide a tool to judges that they can use AI in a good way to do that exact deep verification of those cited precedents?
Thank you, Sergey. And I think the example that you brought was something which was raised in the last at least 5 conferences I attended, where there were topics about AI, that a case came and even the number didn't exist, or the decisions was totally wrong. So it is what they call a hallucination. Because currently there are really a lot of AI engines available. So people mostly speak about like Claude or ChatGPT, but there are a lot, way much more. So you don't know which one is specifically adapted for judiciaries, which one accesses which data, and which one how it provides and generates, let's say, the information. So that's why one thing that we try to solve, which I will try now to showcase, is how actually AI can help when users have draft judgments. So I am now logged in as a judge in the same court, and we have a case under hearings, and inside the case we have a so-called draft order. Now, Last time we were showing how our AI assistant can actually analyze and summarize documents, but here in the file, we just don't open at a glance here, there are several precedent cases which are referred in the draft order that the lawyers prepared. So there is the one and a couple of others in the other page here. Now the question is, if you receive such references as a judge or a registrar, you should check if those numbers exist in your system, and if after checking the numbers, if the summary or that is referred here is actually same as in that case. That can take a lot of time, in summary, AI, which can be helpful, it can create more load. For it not to do so, one feature that we have, we integrated AI with the case management systems database, so it can check, and we have taught it how to actually check when somebody asks a question like this, for example, to check the precedent cases references and their accuracy. So that what will it do now, considering that the pronounced cases are available to the judges? So instead of judge going and searching those cases one by one and checking the decisions, it can facilitate, AI can facilitate the process, and it can search them instead of the judge. And in terms of judge spending hours on trying to find, within a matter of seconds, it can check and provide all this. And here how it works. So, and this is how AI really facilitates. So for the first reference, the parties are the same, the numbers are there, and the subject matters are same. The second one is not found, which means that either this has been a hallucination that the lawyers provided, or this case even never existed, or the number is wrong, which should be checked further manually. And on the second one, actually, though the case number exists, is the same, but the holdings are different. And it also can provide a small overview and analysis of what has happened. So this way, it can become really easier for judges to understand if whatever they received from outside, from lawyers or from litigants, does it correspond to the reality or not? And if not, where actually there are things to be checked. And this is a way that AI can really help to fight some, even the hallucinations provided by another AI engine or another agent. And even if not an hallucination from AI, even if the lawyer tried to mislead to provide or change something, this can really help judges and registrars to get alerted that there is something which may require a deeper research or deeper analysis. Sergey?
Thank you, Khachatur. If we are able to continue this same line of thought and in line with the principles of responsible AI, in your understanding, how does Synergy eCase facilitate legal research while also limiting the exact risks of AI hallucinations that you were just telling us?
Thank you, Sergey. I think I will again share my screen. And one of the recommendations that we got from our last webinar was that whenever we make research, even ourselves, when we say it's based on the cases that are available in our demo system, or in real life it's the real cases, was making sure that systems should have possibility or functionality to actually link the data. Now, if I just ask a question, for example, list all cases on violation of agreement. What is really important here that the information which comes is available and traceable. And as I said in the beginning of the webinar, whenever we talk about what legislation or regulations are available for AI, it is actually also important that whenever everyone designs AI functionalities for judiciaries, they consider that there are some technical mandatory things that should be there. So it should make users easier to check and validate. Now here, when I asked to have list of cases on violation of agreement, it actually brought. So one thing, so these are already the cases which are publicly available cases, which we made examples in our demo system. So for all of those cases, they are links, so they can be accessed online, so just to validate the information. But again, if we type violation of agreement, it also understands that if it's a breach of agreement or breach of contract, it brings all. So as we told last time, there is the sensitive search, semantic search that AI can help with, but it can also make it really traceable so that whenever there is a case number, it can be clicked and it can be accessed. The same way, if the users or judge would like to go deep, they can open the case directly from here and go into the case itself, or they can just ask to make a summary, for example. On a specific case, and it will provide the details. So legal research can become easier, and the fact that AI can hallucinate on bringing cases which didn't exist or bring some legal references which were not there can be eliminated if the technical parts is being done correctly, which means that any response it gives in judicial systems, the judge or the registrar asking the question should have possibility to verify and validate. So this way, it will become really easy to make the adoption of AI.
Thank you very much, Khachatur. So if we move forward towards the upcoming advancements that can happen in this case, it's very interesting to hear the following. So we know that currently AI, it can answer questions, read documents, link information, as you have shown, learn court rules and so on. But all these interactions, they are fundamentally great, but also they're based on question-answer model. And I want to ask this question to Khachatur to understand his point of view. In your understanding, what is the expectation that AI is going to be capable of doing much more than just being a chat box? Khachatur, what do you think about this?
Most of the AIs, when we were doing our previous webinar about 6 months ago, what most of us had understanding on AI, that you can ask it question and it provides the answer. Or sometimes it can make transcriptions for the courts from audio to video. But the thing comes, if AI can help on what we try to actually do is see how AI can help with the usage of the system. One thing is again on the chatbot functionality. So you can ask questions how to create a session. It can read the user guides. It can answer you based on the user guides, or where I can see my listing, or what's the next hearing date for the given case. But all of these are more on question and answer. Now, if I will share my screen just to show what can be the next steps for AI in judiciaries, besides the transcribing the cases or hearings or answering the questions. Conceptually, when we talk about digital case management systems, always there is so-called the design and the user experience. In our case, in our systems, we always separate the general information. We have different blocks where we group the different documents. And there is always hard to find a very good balance, how much structured data you should have and how much for electronic forms there should be versus how easier it should be to enter the information. And if we open the part where we have our sessions, and if we want to reschedule, because rescheduling is something, for example, which happens very frequently, and in all case management systems have this. One way to reschedule it was to create a new session where we should fill the issue date, for example, select the actual hearing date, the parties, and other information. Now what we have also developed and went deeper is that AI can become someone who will be assisting, not only answering the question, but also performing some operations. And example, reschedule to May 27th at 9, for example, for 1 hour, and make it online. So that now we can task AI to actually try to modify information in the system. Because when we talked on the concepts that AI in judiciary should have, it also considers that AI should be, there should be always a human oversight towards the AI, which means that after it actually creates and understands what needs to be done, it should not change any data inside the case. Here, in this case, what it did, actually, it created just a new draft with the specific dates on the hearing with the times, copied the necessary information, checked the online, so meaning that if there were much more fields, it would save way much more time. But in this case, the decision remains with the judge or the registrar who wanted to reschedule the hearing. Should it save and this will be fixed or cancel? This way, AI has possibility to even reduce the time that users spend on filling information in electronic systems, so doing a lot of operations for themselves, but also making sure that the human oversight is always there. And the same applies not only to hearings, the same can be applied to create some letters, create some summons, and so on. Just typing and AI doing all the operations for the user. Of course, always giving an oversight and a place so that the user can decide, should it save it or should it cancel it and do it manually.
So it's always up to the user to review the information and do certain action. Now let's speak about other areas where digitalization is mostly relevant, and I'll ask this question to Niceson. Indeed, reporting is a very core function in every case management system. It is used by judges, registrars, court staff, and other users. Niceson, what are the main challenges associated with report generation?
Thank you, Sergey. Reporting courts is actually far more beyond just a tool. It is very important for court performance management. So when courts generate reports, review them, they're ultimately looking to understand what works, what doesn't work, what needs to change. And this can ultimately translate into decisions, even national strategies in regards to upholding peace and order. So it is a very important and integral part of courts, and one of the reasons why courts go digital and adopt technology is so that they can be able to measure their performance. If we take an example of a case that shows the number of a report, that shows the number of cases per case type in different courts, the judiciary can easily identify different links and say, for example, what are the emerging crimes in our country, which case categories are bringing in most cases, what can we do to improve access to justice, what can we do to make sure that justice is delivered on time and reduce the issues of case backlog. But the challenge that most courts have is, number one, the ever-changing reports, because the reports they need today are far less than the ones they'll need tomorrow, or even different. Number two is the complexity of the reports, because for them to be able to generate these complex links, they must have some level of complex reports. And this takes a lot of time. In some instances, you find the time it takes to design reports is much more than the time it takes to analyze the reports. So this becomes a challenge. And within the justice system, we need to understand that case automation should not just be about what people can do, but it should also be about what the administration and the leadership can do in terms of decision making if they have accurate and real-time data.
Thank you very much, Niceson. So if we can move forward, it is already known that Synergy IDM has been recognized for different advanced dashboards, and users are able to build those dashboards without any coding. Khachatur, how can AI further be used to generate those quick, sometimes maybe urgent, informative reports, and whether it's possible to even generate extensive, sophisticated dashboards?
Thank you, Sergey. When we talk about reporting, and specifically when there is a case management system in place, it's always the question that you should have a report builder which can build reports. However, it's not always, experience shows that you cannot build all the possible reports, even when we have the so-called report builder where users can build their own ones. There are always questions which may require some kind of an analytics, and we wanted to see if this can be solved through AI. Now, as I said, this is our demo system where we have grosso modo 71 cases for demo purposes. And if we ask AI to give us an overview of those cases or make an analysis, for example, how many court cases there are in the system grouped by category. I typo, sorry. What we developed recently was teaching also creating a skill for AI so that it can very quickly answer basic questions regarding the statistics. How many files have been received within a specific period, or how many cases there are per each category. So it also did this. So one thing is that if the predefined or so-called the ad hoc report is not available in the system, instead of spending time building it from scratch, AI can also be helpful to provide any type of statistics. This is one part. But the other big part is that AIs have really good analytical skills, and when they are integrated with systems like ours, they can also go way beyond just answering, giving some statistics, but becoming a very big helpers to the administrators of those systems for helping them to build dashboards. Because when we talk about a dashboard, let me pass this question because it can be a bit long. For example, if we want to have a dashboard which I can filter by judge and by court, and which will be used to analyze all court cases. And there should be some list reports and some charts. So to build such kind of dashboard, even with our tools, it could take hours or even more to come up with what there should be, to come up with the good visuals and everything. But again, to make the process faster, we have actually integrated AI with our reporting engine, where AI can understand the request, and instead of the administrator as an assistant to the administrator now, can go and build all those reports. And always the reports are based on the permissions. So if the user has the right to build such kind of reports, AI will do. Otherwise, it will advise that user has no permission. But the thing is that instead of spending way much more time on building everything from scratch, AI can actually help and build this for the user. Now, just in less than a minute, it provided. If we navigate, so this case has been just built through AI. So it understood what is the information in the system. It made a preliminary charts, for example, here by case, by courts, by the status of those cases which we have in the system, and a list report, and with a filter. So all this is facilitating a lot the load of administrators or analytical thinking. Of course, if now we answer on any questions regarding the data which is captured here, it will answer. But it also helps when it can also build those type of reports, which means that coming next, AI will not only analyze a report which is shared with it, it can also make the reports and then provide the detailed analysis for those reports.
This is very impressive, although it's very easy to configure dashboards on your own, but this is indeed saving a lot of time. But Khachatur, which AI engine we are currently using here to deliver all these features, and overall how the judiciary can maintain control over those engines, manage the agents, different models, and do that across all different jurisdictions?
I'll again share my screen and we'll try to show how when we say we have AI in our case management system, how it actually works. The golden rule is that it should be always under under control. And here we have the place where administrators can actually configure the AI and they can have multiple engines. Now here what we have done in our demo system, we integrated it for testing and also for real-life usage perspectives, it with multiple AI engines. So we had integration with the Anthropic, OpenAI, also LLM, which is local. And each of those engines, they have multiple models, which we are using. And here is where we actually control the fact that it will not hallucinate. So for every model from any engine that we use, we give it clear instructions, what it should do and what it should not do. And also we consider here that based on the connectors, and connectors are what connects the data in the system to the different models that we have. Through the connectors, we guarantee that the data that it will access is actually restricted and it's based on the permissions. And it's not coming up with the content by itself, but it is actually retrieving the exact data and answering on it. Plus, there is always the multiple hierarchy of agents, which is working. So we have pre-created a bunch of different agents, giving each of them a specific role, like some assisting roles, or ones who can actually analyze the reporting, ones who can answer some questions from the user guides, and also created a specific hierarchy on them. And when we say a hierarchy, this is one of the models of our AI. So with one agent, having access to different agents, each of them having access to different tools up to before accessing actually the system. So that AI can understand what is a document, what is the knowledge base, the electronic form, the workflow. So for all of that, there can be a hierarchy, but for the specific skills that are required to be handled in judiciaries, for example, we talked today about duplication or compliance checks, we have possibility also to create those skills. And for every skills, there is always the thing that they can be edited and then further modified by administrators. So though this is all part of way too technical, but judiciaries, if they want to have AI, they should also have technical team members who can control all this. But the things have changed in a way that you just write it in a text form, you just explain the rules, and then it can make compliance checks. So the part of before, which we was calling coding and developing, is now becoming more on giving very clear instructions so that AI can understand. And with having so-called builders, where you can integrate new platforms, new models, new engines into the system, makes it really easy to move along with the new recent developments. Because the market, the available AI engines in the market are becoming more and more, and we don't bound to actually one or two or any existing engine. Always new engines can be integrated and they can be tested. And through having hierarchies of agents and skills, it makes it easier to actually achieve the results that are needed.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Khachatur. I think this is the moment where we can go towards the interactive part of our session. Although whatever you presented, the both of you presented and spoke, was very practical as well. I see that we have some questions in the chat. And my suggestion would be to add some more questions so we can pick and choose and share the replies to related questions. Before we do that, I think it's very important to also speak about overall deployment and maintenance of those AI solutions. Khachatur, maybe you can give us some understanding on that part.
Thank you, Sergey. Actually, what we have developed on our end and what is technically possible, there are AI engines like, if I speak more in a more comprehensive way, like ChatGPT or Claude, which are mostly cloud-based. So, but some countries are usually coming with their data privacy policies and AI acts, which require the data, specifically the judicial data, to always remain within the country. It can be within the country, or it can be within the judiciary's infrastructure, or government-owned data centers. So this way, there is possibility to have the AI engines which are deployed locally. What we have done, and I showed during my recent sharing session, was that there are engines which are deployed here locally on our side, which can be deployed on the client servers. Which means that the data will not go to any third party or will not go to any cloud solution. It will remain on premise on your servers. But they require actually to have the so-called GPUs in place so that they can work. But both options are possible, and based on the legislation or regulations, one of them can be chosen, be it either on cloud or be it fully on premise without it exiting anyhow the required local infrastructure.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Khachatur. We are currently reviewing different questions. There was a point regarding the screen being small. It was the box which was minimized and you're able to maximize it. We have just seen that. Regarding certain features of administrators, I think, Khachatur, you in your last reply, you've already spoke about it. There is another question regarding different languages. Is it possible to speak about what languages support it, even if we can just share some light on that?
Yep. Well, the engines that we choose and we use, they support multiple languages. The thing is that when I showed that we have an agentic setup and skills, one of the skills and some of the agents that we have are specifically configured to make translations. Meaning if there is one engine which is really good at analyzing the data, then the other one is good at translating, they both collaborate. So it's a hierarchy of agents, and what we have, for example, for transcription, it supports more than 80 languages. The other one that we have can actually make the summaries in more than 100 languages. And the most important thing is that some languages are widely available, so there are many AI engines for on-premise deployments and even on the cloud that work with a lot of languages, but they increase. As an example, if I bring for the tendencies, when we just started 3 years ago to use AI for transcribing court hearings, there were one or two really good engines which could provide 90% above accuracy. Last year, when we were testing new ones, we identified many with supports 40 plus or 80 plus languages. So the market is also evolving. And I think there was a question, I'm reading now one of those questions which says, there are different AI engines. Now, how can we know that this is correct or good engine that can be trusted to give right information? Actually, I can share the experience how among hundreds or thousands of different engines that we test periodically, how we identify. First, we have in our development process, we made an integration with different AI tools, and we created agents like the one which can answer questions on the case. We have ones which can answer questions regarding our system, and whatever we have done to test manually before on how a specific AI engine works on transcription or on answering the questions on the cases, we automated those processes. Now our AI lab, we get a lot of new engines that we need to test, and we have to facilitate the process because it's always hard to choose from the other solutions. We have AIs which test the different AI engines, and they compare each other. And when the test results are good, then we only do human testing. That's one of the best ways we have identified to be able to not to overspend a lot on the resources, but at the same time to come with some efficiency solutions. And when you see in the market that there is a new engines which can analyze everything really fast and it's really quick, it requires less resource consumption, to make sure that it's really working, we have ways to test internally, again, using AI solutions.
Thank you very much, Khachatur. I see that we have more questions, and I think there is an interesting one, or you might have another one. Yep.
I think this one is something we had in mind before developing our AI solutions that Anil asked For use by court registry staff, are AI models intuitive enough to be engaged by persons using simple query language, example by persons not trained in AI prompting? The answer is yes, and that's why I said for for judiciaries, the AI is customly being developed, and when I say developed, it's not about writing new AI engines, but it's mostly using the existing well-trained LLM models. And usually if you try now to analyze a case with ChatGPT or Claude or any of the current big AI engines, you need to provide it in a very accurate way in terms of the prompts. So saying that, okay, this is a court case, this belongs to this country, to this jurisdiction, these are the laws that should be applied, and many things like that. Your prompt can be even bigger than the result that you want to get. What we did in our system, we already made the pre-training, because we well understand that anywhere it will be used or it is used, people may not know how to do the prompts. But as AI already knows what is the court case, it has been trained and, as I said, integrated with the user guides, with the database, with the specific court rules which are specific to that system, to that country where the system is. It removes the common necessity to actually create prompts, because when you ask question to make a summary or to provide the legal grounds or to provide any input on the upcoming hearings, it already knows that you are in the case, what is your role in the system, what permissions you have, and based on it provides the answer. So the need actually to provide the lengthy prompts disappears as AI is specifically trained for the judicial use in these regards.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Khachatur. I think we are running out of time, and I think this is the moment to conclude, even though there are some interesting questions, but we will send the replies to those questions individually. So if that's the case, I would like to extend our sincere thanks to Khachatur Matevosyan and Niceson Karungi for their presentations. And on behalf of Synergy International Systems, we want to thank all of you, all the participants, for joining us and raising your questions throughout the session. As I told you, we're going to send you today's webinar along with the previous one via email. And if you're interested in implementing these solutions at your organization, you can reply to the email communication that was presented to you, or send us an email on mail@synesys.com. You can also follow our updates on our website, LinkedIn, on future webinars and different announcements. So we were very honored to have had you with us, and we hope that this session contributes meaningfully to the ongoing conversation around responsible AI adoption in courts and justice institutions and your organizations. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.